opportunity for candidates
all right. Hey,
to differentiate themselves. What we're going to do first, though, is I will ask my good friend Tony Ponsetti to lead us in a prayer, which will then be followed by the pledge.
We can bow our heads. Stand, please. Father God, we come into your presence, Lord, and it is good to be able to stand in America in a place where we can debate, we can talk. And Father, we just ask your blessing on both these candidates. Father God, that you would give them wisdom and understanding. And Father God, that we as the people would seek the truth. We thank you most of all, Father, for your presence here today. And we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll do just a couple of housekeeping details. This is the Lakeland 912 Project, and I want to welcome all the guests we have here this evening. Coming up in September, we meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month here at 7 in the evening. On September 9th, we're going to have Will Bronson, who's the Democratic candidate for the U.S. House Representative in Florida's 17th District. That does include some of Polk County. And on September 23rd, we're going to have Leroy Dempsey. Leroy Dempsey, who's a local representative for something called the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Basically, what they do is they help troubled youth find both God and peace, if I can use that term for any youth, through their athletic program. It's a great program, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say. Sometime during the evening, we're going to pass around a tin, because we are a voluntary organization, and we do accept donations. We have been running the air conditioner since about 5:30. It's a warehouse. It takes a while. Hopefully we'll catch up to the heat. So we do take donations to pay for the snacks and the air conditioning and the lights. I want to thank Galia. Where are you, Galia? There you go. I want to thank Galia. She's the one that made the flyer that many of you have seen that was thrown out. It was beautiful. For me, my special treat of the evening, and there's a lot of them this evening, is that my daughter's here, so I'm going to make her way too. Hi, Alyssa. My job is not to embarrass her tonight. What I'd like to do now is go ahead and introduce Addie Anthony. She's a very talented young woman who, by the age of 28, has started her acting career, has written a book, earned a college degree, all while she's being a mom to 3 children. Most people don't do that by age 28. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Addie to tell us her story.
Good evening, everybody.
Folks.
I'd like to thank Jeff, of course, for that lovely introduction. I'd like to also thank the Lakeland 912 Project for inviting me here this evening. As Jeff mentioned, I am a self-published author for my book, The Self-Rising Awakening. Being that I have recently graduated with a criminal justice degree. I am a resident of Lakeland, and I encourage everyone to get involved and learn more about our beautiful state. I could tell you more about my book and myself, but we all came here for a reason today. So with that being said, I'm just going to hand the mic over back to Jeff, and if you guys have any questions or would like to know anything else about me or my book, I have a table set up right there by the door when you first came in, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions or any kind of information you might want to have about the book or myself, so let me know. And we also will be having a drawing, and 3 lucky people will be winning a ebook copy of my book. So have have this evening.
With that, I would like the two candidates to come up and have a seat. You know Hugh Shannon and Colleen Burton, and because we're a nonpartisan group, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. We're going to let them do that through the questions that we have this evening. That's right, I'll share. The candidates will be able to make a 2-minute statement to open each, and then we have some questions here that we have gone over, and we will go through those. They'll have 2 minutes to answer the question each, and then the last person will have 30 seconds for rebuttal. When we get to those questions, we will take questions from the audience, and Scott will be in charge of that. Yeah, okay. He's chief. So with that, let's turn on his mics.
Okay, good evening. I am Colleen Burton, as Jeff said, and a candidate for the Florida House of Representatives in District 40. I'm sure everybody in the room realizes this is a seat that Seth McKeel currently holds, and Seth is term limited, so it's an open seat. And thank you all for coming tonight. I know we've got folks here from outside the district, so it's great to know that people all across the region are interested in a race here in the greater Lakeland area, so thank you all for being here. I'm running for state representative to continue my 21 years of public service here in our city and in our county. And my goal as a state representative is going to be to continue to create opportunities, working with our Florida legislature, working with other legislators in Tallahassee, but create opportunities for all Floridians and for businesses to come to Florida, to hire Floridians, to create a future for everybody, a bright future. I'm going to do that working hand in hand with our legislators, not just locally, but all across the state. I have a long history of working with folks to accomplish goals, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve my community, to continue to serve my community in the Florida legislature if I'm honored enough to receive enough votes by next Tuesday. For those of you who don't know, it is next Tuesday. In the primary. Now, if I could have just one moment of a cautionary tale, if you will. I know some of you are here tonight because some notices went out that called this particular campaign or this particular primary a slugfest. You're sitting in this big room tonight and you're looking at two Republicans. I am not here to participate in a slugfest. And I'm going to guess that Mr. Shannon would say the same thing. I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation so that everybody can get to know both me and Mr. Shannon. And I'm really looking forward to tonight, so thank you all for coming.
Good evening to all of you. And when it says that we're going to be on the hot seat tonight, it may be more true than just, because it may get a little warm tonight, so if something happens and you need to get up and get something to drink and cool off, I understand. Thank you all for coming. You know, the best part about this whole thing is that I'd like for you to join me in any time that you run across an American veteran or someone that's in uniform, take the time and say thank you. Because, you know, we wouldn't be doing this if it were not for those people that were willing to put on a uniform and protect the freedoms and certainly the greatest privilege that we have in America, and that is the right to vote. I encourage you all, tell all your friends and neighbors, be sure and vote. It's important that they vote because that's what it's all about. Tonight's your night. I'm here for you, and I want you to know I'm here for you. I'm here to answer your questions and tell what you want me, answer your questions on any issue that you have that you want to hear about. And I don't care what it is. If I can't answer your question completely in 2 minutes, what I suggest to you is hang around. Come up and ask me, because I will stay as long as it takes to answer your question on any subject that you want to ask me. Because again, I do this for one person only, and that's each and every one of you in those chairs. And I do it because you deserve it. This is your seat. This is your district. And you deserve to have the person you want in that seat. So ask the questions. Many of you have called me on the phone. I've gotten a number of emails, and I've done everything I can to answer and respond to every one of you. And I'll continue to do it until the election is over. Thank you again for coming tonight. It is a real pleasure to be here. My daughter tells me sometimes that I look like a grumpy old man even if I'm having a good time. So if I look a little grumpy, somebody remind me and I'll smile, because I am happy to be here and I'm glad to be here.
So I will read the first question. Our Constitution was written to be a guide for moral leadership. The Bible was used as a primary and secondary reference for 2/3 of the Constitution. Will you make a public pledge to make decisions in office based on biblical principles? If so, how will you put that pledge into practice? How will we as your constituents know that that is what you're doing?
Every decision I have ever made in my life has been based upon biblical principles. I am a Christian. I practice my faith. It is one of the, my faith and my family are the cornerstones of my life. So every decision I'll make as a legislator, I will also look to my heart, look to my God, and to my faith as a guide for the decisions that I'll make. How will you know? Well, let's assume that we're a room of faithful people. So you're going to pay attention, because I know you pay attention. You're here tonight because you are people who pay attention. And I also know that particularly in a room like tonight, filled with people such as you're the types of individuals, types of voters who are going to let me know if a decision I make, or a statement I make, or something happens that you think veers me or takes me away from those principles that I have all my life held dear, and I know that you do also.
That's a great question. Let me tell you the best part about that question is you're absolutely correct. The Constitution was formed based on our Christian principles. And the interesting thing about it is, a kid growing up, it was okay to have prayer every morning in school before we got started. It was okay to pledge of allegiance and put our hand over our heart every morning when we got started. And sometimes it disturbs me greatly when I look at people when they do a pledge of allegiance and don't put their hand over their heart. One of the things that concerns me is that the separation of church and state was not that we shouldn't practice religion, not that we shouldn't have prayer in public places and in public meetings, but the fact that each and every one of us has the right to practice that religion that we personally believe in. And that's lost. And unfortunately, in my opinion, the courts have gone too far with this. They've gotten way too liberal with some of this stuff. And we need to fix that. And we need to fix it if we have to by passing additional laws that make a difference in this to say, look, when people have the right to practice religion, if it's in public, that's okay, as long as it doesn't infringe upon somebody else's right to practice their religion. So what would I do? one of the things that I would remember, as I always have, that my guide, my operator's manual, and it's been my operator's manual for as long as I can remember, is the Christian Bible, and I'll always use it as my operator's manual.
So the next question is, this question concerns the ethnicity of illegal immigrants, giving them driving rights and how the 10th Amendment figures in all this. How will you fight for our constitutional rights to protect our state from federal government forcing their political agenda for illegal immigrants on their constitution?
All right. One of the things that we've already done that I have concerns about is that we gave illegal immigrants tuition breaks in our schools. Our borders are flooded, and they're continuing to be flooded, and we're not doing anything about it. But worse yet, what we've done is hung out the carrot to tell people where they can come and get those benefits. By doing what we've done, we have brought people, we are going to bring people to Florida for the sole purpose of getting those tuition breaks. The biggest problem we have with immigration is this. What we're doing is, at the federal level, and I'm afraid now potentially at the state level, is we're teaching people that it's okay to violate the law. How can I, as a father, teach my children equality and that they both have to follow the rules if I make exceptions for one and not for the other? And that's what we've done with illegal immigrants. And we've got to stop that right now. Because it's not fair to people that follow the law to say to people, okay, if you're from some other country, you don't have to follow the law. So we need to stop this. And the first thing we need to do is we need to quit creating benefits for people to encourage them to come here illegally. Now, the state legislature cannot secure the border. Sorry, we can't. But if we don't give them benefits, then maybe they'll go to some other state that will give them benefits and not come up to Florida.
The most important step to stop illegal immigration is certainly to stop immigrants from crossing our borders illegally. And as we all know, that is a role that is appropriately played by the federal government. I do not believe that today the federal government is filling their responsibility on behalf of all of us, and that's been evident time and time again, but certainly most recently at levels unprecedented. It's huge that's important. That's so important. And we've been doing this for years, and that's part of the issue. For many, many years, folks have been able to get to the United States illegally. And then they get to stay here. And we have not had methods, we have not had appropriate safeguards. It's a federal problem. When it comes to the state of Florida, opening the doors of the state of Florida and saying it's okay to be here if you're illegal is wrong. It's not okay to be here if you're not supposed to be here. You need to go back home. You need to take steps before you come to the United States to get here, in the same manner that so many of our forefathers came, years and years ago when Ellis Island was the entry into the United States. There was a process, and people yearned for the opportunity to be part of that process, to become Americans. That's the reputation we want to have, that there's a process, not that you can just swim across a river, walk across the border, be smuggled into, however you get into the United States. That's our issue, is the federal government has got to step up. What do we do in the Florida legislature related to that? Demand as best we can. We have no power necessarily over the federal government when it comes to other things, but we can stand up for the citizens in the state of Florida. We can stand up, and we can make it so that Florida is not an open door for illegal immigrants to cross. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anything to add? Okay. All right. Explain the problems with our tort laws, your position on tort reform, and if you are a proponent of reforming the tort laws, how specifically would you reform these laws?
The challenge with tort reform in the state of Florida is that our legal system has placed us at the bottom of the United States when it comes to the reputation of our climate. I've spoken to businesses who have locations not just in Florida but in other states, and they talk to me about the added expenses that they have because they're doing business in Florida. A large employer headquartered right here in Polk County is very, very concerned about the cost of doing business in Florida because of frivolous lawsuits. The first thing we need to do is identify, using the resources of legislators who are currently there and new legislators that will be joining us in Tallahassee, ask them to, those who have legal expertise, there are organizations that do research in this, and ask them to step up and identify where we're falling short, when stores in our community are plagued with lawsuits over slip and fall and other issues. It's a challenge and it's a problem. So we need to look at where we can make a difference, understanding that sometimes, it's a tough goal. You just continue to work at it because we have got to improve the reputation of the state of Florida because, ladies and gentlemen, it is costing us money and it is costing us jobs. Thank you.
That question gets asked a lot. The first question that I would ask people is, would you define the word tort for me? And most people can't do that. They think of an injury case as a tort, and that's a part of a tort, but that's not the whole story. A tort is a whole range of civil wrongs across the board. Now, here's tort reform. I'm going to give it to you real simply. I would have each and every one of you take out a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper write down business. And out from that piece of paper, I would want you to write down a number that you would pay today to be sure that business does not overpay for insurance. So they're not overcharged, they don't have this problem that Ms. Burton just talked about. Then up under that, I would have you write down hospital. And what you would pay today to be sure that a hospital doesn't pay too much for malpractice insurance, and they can keep their rates down, provide services for people as they need to. And up under that, I would have you write down doctor. And the same thing, the amount of money that you would pay that doctor, for that doctor not to have to pay too much for his malpractice insurance. Then I would have you write down the name of the person that means the most to you. Whether it's your husband, like Brad for Ms. Burton, or a child like Chris to Ms. Burton, or somebody else. And then I would have you write down what you would take for that person's life today. And then I would have you write down that same person's name and their left arm. And how much you would take for their left arm, or their right eye, or their left leg. And then what I would do is I would have you write down the name of the person that you do not like the most. You just can't stand. And how much you would take for their life today. Or their left leg, or their right arm, or something else. And then I would copy all those pieces of paper, and I'd give each and every one of you a stack, and I'd say, now, you reconcile this for me. That's tort reform. Last year, the legislature passed a statute. It changed the rules of evidence, 90.702, and we went from the Fla statute, the Fla standard, which was a U.S. Supreme Court case rendered in 1923, and we went to the Daubert standard. Daubert is another U.S. Supreme Court. There was a 2014 case out of the 4th District Court of Appeals called Perez that reversed the judgment because the court said it's a rule of evidence, therefore it's retroactively applied. So what that means is those people went to trial, had a verdict, and it got reversed because the legislature changed the rules on it. Okay? Now, we don't know how that's going to work out, but what it's done is already affected cases that are going to trial. Every case from now on will have what's called a Daubert hearing. All the experts' testimony will have to be reviewed by a judge before it ever gets admitted into evidence. So what is tort reform? It's already working. It's already out there. It's a very complicated issue.
Thank you.
As a rebuttal, I just want to make sure people are clear that when we're talking about tort reform and the cost of doing business in Florida, we're talking about frivolous lawsuits. Thank you.
Next question. The Habitat One report that provided the blueprint for Agenda 21 openly states, private land ownership is also a principal instrument of accumulation and concentration of wealth and therefore contributes to social injustice. Public control of land use is therefore indispensable. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection boasts on its website of a new program to transfer control of land from the people to the government using the people's tax money, the Florida Forever program. What are your views on the Florida Forever program and property ownership rights of Florida residents? What are your views on the Florida Forever program and property ownership rights of Florida residents?
You know, the condemnation laws in the state of Florida are necessary for one reason, because sometimes you need to take lands for public use, so that for the greater good, you have to take public lands. But you know, we should never do that unless it's an absolute necessity. So the right of the property owner, the individual property owner, should always be the superior right to that of the government. And while I'm in favor of public lands, private lands being purchased for public use, like the Florida Forever program, we should never do that to excess or where we're taking lands that we don't need. Our quality of life is based upon people having access and enjoying the lands that we have in the state of Florida, whether it's our beaches or our lakes or our woodlands or our trails and all of those. And so within certain parameters we need to do that. But it must be always understanding that the rights of the individual should always be considered at a higher right than that of the government. And only in those situations where the balancing of those equities makes it reasonable to take private lands am I in favor of it. Sometimes we have to, certainly, for roads and schools and that sort of thing. But when we're just buying land to preserve them, we need to be cautious with that.
Florida Forever, the program called Florida Forever, has enabled us as Floridians to preserve land all across this state for lots of reasons, for recreation, for some environmentally sensitive lands have been purchased, for we have issues related to water, so we need water recharge areas. There's lots of reasons why the state of Florida today has public land. I think most people would agree that those bring great benefit economically to the state of Florida. You know, Florida is one of the most popular tourist destinations around the world. And one of the reasons it's popular is because of the beauty that surrounds us from coast to coast and north to south all over the state of Florida. Having said that, today, almost 40% of land in the state of Florida is owned by the state government, the federal government, or local government. I would propose that what we need to do is take better care of those properties that we currently own. We need to maintain them than acquire additional property at this time. Property owners have the right to sell their property at a fair price, not to have their property seized. And I think that's what we're going to see in the future in the state of Florida. Thank you.
You know, with that, I would tell you that Amendment 1, which could produce almost $1 billion in revenues to be used solely for the purchase of public lands, we should not pass that. I mean, we should, in my opinion, we should vote against that. You make your own decision, but I can tell you for John Shannon, I'm against that. Because we put $1 billion in some bank account, we're going to have $1 billion worth of governmental structure to manage it. We don't need any more people on the payroll.
Thank you. The next question concerns the minimum wage. Where do you stand on an increase in the minimum wage? Do you see an economic value to the community where people are able to pay their own way versus depending on a taxpayer? Will you encourage our local businesses to pay their employees at least $10 an hour? And will you encourage an increase in the state minimum wage?
Another multi-part question. Do I think it's important that people pay their own way and don't rely on the government? That's part of the question. Absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, we have a plethora of programs that continue to keep Floridians dependent upon government assistance. This is not healthy. Do I believe that raising the minimum wage in Florida is the answer to that? Absolutely not. If you look at studies from across the United States related to minimum wage, you will see that increasing minimum wage has not proven to bring people out of poverty. And I think we ought to learn from the example of other states. Why walk into the same morass of challenges that other states are facing when we can learn from them, and raising the minimum wage is not the way to do that.
You know, as somebody in state government, you need to look at every issue from the standpoint of a business person and what the business effect would be. There are books out there that say that 30 to 35% of the gross income of every business is spent on their payroll. So when this question originally came up, and I had it, I sat down and did the math. And let me tell you what the math shows. First is the minimum wage in Florida is higher than that in the federal government. It's $7.93 in Florida and $7.25 by federal standards. So we're higher in Florida than we are than other states that apply with the federal minimum wage. But if you went to $10 and you know that 30% of the gross income is spent on wages and salaries, if you take a company that generates $1 million, and you do the math of how much they're going to spend in nothing but wages, that's $300,000. And then when you divide that by the minimum wage of Florida at $7.93, or even if you round it up at $8, that's about 21 to 22 employees that they have. Now, if you go redo the calculation at $10, suddenly they've lost 3 employees, or 4. So the same company generating the same gross income, if they get that, and having an increased minimum wage, you've just lost 3 to 4 jobs just by changing the minimum wage. And that's if that same company can generate the same gross income with a smaller workforce. And there's no guarantee that it can. So people that think the minimum wage is going to be helpful, what you're going to do is put people out of work rather than help people sustain where they are. And you will hurt businesses because the end result is that if they lose people, they may not generate the same income. So am I in favor of an increase in minimum wage? Absolutely not. People pay people based on production. We always have, we'll continue to do it, and people that are producing are going to do better.
The repeal and replace of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, seems to be the main talking point for the Republican Party. Do you think it is time to change the stand on the issue from repeal, replace, to repair, rebuild Obamacare, because there are some parts of the program that are working?
You know, this statute is probably singly one of the most complicated statutes I think we've ever passed in America, and the effect of that statute is trickling down such that it's going to be unbelievable. I spent some time with Elaine Thompson at the Lakeland Regional Medical Center, and she began to explain to me the effects of this statute and how it's going to affect the income for the Lakeland Regional Medical Center Hospital. I can tell you, I don't have an answer for that. I know that a number of my doctor friends are very upset about this statute, the way this thing works. I know people in the insurance industry aren't happy with it either because of it. I can tell you that what research I've done to educate myself on it, I don't have a lot of good answers, and I don't know that anybody else does right now. But this is something that's going to take a great deal of collective wisdom across this country to solve this problem, from the bottom up throughout the healthcare and insurance industry. It's a very, very complicated issue.
I don't think we have begun to see how vastly harmful Obamacare is to our country. Now, in addition to the issues that have already arisen, issues that hospitals and doctors and other medical care providers are currently aware of, there are unseen hazards ahead of us with the implementation of Obamacare. And I say this because I'm friends with a gentleman by the name of Greg Sale, and some of you know Greg. And a couple of months ago, he graciously attended the Republican Women's Club in Lakeland. We could have kept Greg at the microphone for an afternoon. He could have done a seminar. I have had members of our club approach me and say, we need to get him back. We're very concerned. And his tale was very cautionary to us. And what he said, he's involved at the national level in conversations related to how can you possibly implement, how can it be implemented. And he was telling us at that meeting that there are staffers up in Washington, D.C., bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., who look at Craig and other insurance professionals who gather to try to figure out how this can happen, and they shake their heads and they say, they've asked us to do this and we don't even know how to do it. So it's a huge issue. Should it be repealed, repaired, or whatever the third R was? I think you, all of us, need to continue to put pressure on our Congress and our Senate to make smart choices. And we're fortunate that if you live in this area, for example, that Congressman Dennis Ross is well versed in this and a leader in that. We're well represented from our local community.
The next question concerns the problem that we all see on national TV in Ferguson, Missouri, with the mistrust between the citizens and law enforcement, and sometimes not really helped by the media. If you were selected, and you will be representing all the constituents of your district, what can you say to the communities to assure them that this breakdown between the people and law enforcement does not happen in Lakeland?
So your question assumes that the tragedy is because of miscommunication, right?
Most tragedies are. But yes, I would consider that Fair statement.
Okay. Not being a resident of Ferguson and not being on the ground when that very sad moment happened where a young person lost their life. I don't think that it's something, that I could adequately comment on when it comes to Ferguson. Your question, though, is how can we make sure that
How can we make sure that communities in Lakeland don't run afoul, for whatever reason, with law enforcement in such a way that we have riots in the streets? How can we make sure that there is enough of a community discussion and liaison so that this doesn't happen? What will you do in your position as a state legislature to make that happen and to prevent tragedies such as Ferguson?
Okay. The police department in the city of Lakeland is under the purview of the city commission here in Lakeland, not the state legislature. As a state legislator, I would want to work closely with our local law enforcement, our local elected officials, to see what tools they may need to make sure that that communication is well maintained, if they need anything. I don't think that the state government needs to have its hand in every part of our local lives. We have elected officials in Lakeland who we should and can hold accountable for local decisions and for local law enforcement. Thank you.
The problem in Ferguson is twofold. First is there was a death of a young man. How that occurred, what the end result was, and the investigation is something at some point in time we'll all learn. But more than that, now there's rioting and looting. Respect for the law is respect for the law. And just because we have one tragedy, we can't carry that over and create or justify another tragedy. And the looting and the robbing and the citizens being hurt is a far additional tragedy. The only way we as a community, we as a people, we as a nation are going to survive ever is based on trust. And if our community doesn't have that thread of trust that runs throughout it in all segments of the community, we're lost. And that seems to what has occurred in Ferguson, because the trust is not there. And that's the reason that civil dispute has occurred, because there is no trust. And the only thing that we can do is work from whatever position we have to establish that degree of trust and respect one for another. That goes back to the same thing about the Constitution. Our Christian principles are do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's what I live by every day, and that's what we all ought to consider living by every day. Treat our neighbor the way we want to be treated. And that'll establish that trust, and maybe we won't have civil dispute and civil riots in Lakeland like they're having in Ferguson.
Mental health is an issue that has received much attention lately with the suicide of Robin Williams. Do you see the need to start the conversation about mental health and what can or should be done by the state to provide people with mental health they may need?
Robin Williams, what an icon for so many years. And to hear that he took his own life because of his feelings of whatever they were, inadequacy, or something else. I'm grateful that I've never suffered from any of those. But that doesn't mean that other people don't. And those people that do, we need to help them. We need to provide the care to help them. Not just in medication, but whatever. When I took a tour of Lakeland Regional, I was amazed that there is that part of the hospital that takes care of mental patients that are there involuntarily, and they don't have enough beds because there are that many people that are that much in need. So what do we need to do about it? We need to figure out a way to help these people. The loss of someone like Robin Williams just reaffirms that, the human body is very frail. And what keeps us together is very frail. And what we do to help our friends and neighbors that suffer from these kind of problems, we need to do.
We are very fortunate in our community to be served by the Peace River Center. And the Peace River Center is filled with folks who have expertise, compassion, and a commitment to their mission. The Peace River Center, when they come to the legislature and they ask the legislature for expanded funding so that they have an emergency crisis unit for individuals in our community, that's something that has been in the past and should be supported by the state legislature. We're fortunate that we're well served here in Polk County, but I am certain if they were here tonight and if folks from Tri-County Human Services were here and other members of our medical community, they would tell us the need is great. And unfortunately, we just don't have these conversations as a community until there's a tragedy. Until a well-known individual like Mr. Williams passes away. Until somebody dies at the hands of somebody who is generally acknowledged to be suffering from a mental illness. It's a conversation we need to be having even when there's not something in the media that draws our attention to it. As it impacts lives of families of our community each and every day, not just when there's a tragedy.
Thank you. This next question has a long build-up, for which I will apologize. It was a way it was given to me. Currently, Florida's education system is ranked 48 out of the 50 states in the United States. Florida has a large number of limited English-speaking students in our public schools. These students are included in all state testing activities. In addition, students with specific learning disabilities are also included in testing protocols. These children represent the lower 25% of the students who continue to be excluded from a viable learning experience. Regardless of the reform put into place, the outcome tends to continue to impact the lowest 25% of the student population in Florida's public schools. It's pretty much irrespective of the education program that we're trying to implement. There's always that 25%. So my question is, if you were elected, how would you ensure that all students would be accommodated and learning for all would occur?
Yeah. Choice in education is immensely important, and it's the parents of the 25% that you're referring to who have the responsibility for their children. As such, I support the fact that they should have choice, that they should be able to find a local education institution that meets the needs of their children, irrespective of what the challenges of that child might be. So I support school choice. I support parents who take on the responsibility of making sure that their child is receiving the best education they can possibly receive. So I certainly believe that if we find the need, if somebody comes and says there's a documented need for additional choice and additional funding for those choices here in our community, I would support that.
I think in this last legislative session, we saw people get territorial in the education dollars. And that's never a good thing because the allocation was not fair across the board. We can never lose sight of the education system to do one thing: educate the child, regardless of who that child is, regardless of where their background is, regardless of where they come from, regardless of what they are or where they're going. Our goal is to educate every child where they are. And how we do that is a decision that needs to be made based upon where the child is and who the parent is and what they think. Now, my children were fortunate. They went to a parochial school and did very well in that environment. Some children may not do well in that environment. We've had other children that have come from other schools to go into our parochial school, and they have performed very well when before they didn't. So the end result is, if we're going to educate children and measure their success, we've got to do that fairly across the board. You know, for all too long, we in America, we educate the majority. We forget the students at the top that can excel so rapidly. We forget the students at the bottom that are struggling. And we've got to get out of that. And we've got to figure out a way to educate every child and put them in the environment where that child can strive and succeed and grow and learn as is best for them. And if that child's a superstar, by golly, let's get them in an environment where they can do that. If that child is struggling, let's get them in an environment where they can succeed and feel good about their success.
Thank you. What we're going to do now is I'm going to pass the microphone to Scott. Did you want to say something? Oh, sorry. I'm going to pass the microphone to Scott, who is going to help us take questions from the audience.
Who's first? It'll be painless, I promise. All right, let's go with somebody that isn't here regularly. By the way, while I walk over there, we've been meeting for the last 4 years. You're encouraged to attend our regular meetings the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of every month, unless it's like Christmas or something.
Okay, Texas and Utah allow both the teachers and the college students respectively to exercise their Second Amendment rights, okay, which has resulted in no Virginia Techs, no Columbines. Where do you all allow on allowing the Florida to follow suit? And if I could, y'all are both Christians, where do you stand on Jesus' conflict resolution method in Matthew 18? And I say that because there have been some conflicts which I feel not comfortable to say out of respect.
Condense that for us, will you?
Pardon?
Condense that for us.
Oh. Okay. The second question was conflict resolution. It's a biblical question in Matthew 18. I think I'll just stick to the first question here. Welcome to. But in Texas, the teachers can pack teach. You don't have anyone coming in there and killing students. Now, it's a difficult situation. And in Utah, the college students and the professors can exercise their Second Amendment rights. Now, I personally believe there could be some training if they do that, but you don't have any Columbines or Virginia Tech. So where do you stand on making Florida law mimic these other conservative states?
Question is,
Pack teach. That means carry a pistol.
You know, I have grown up around guns. I've carried guns all my life. I have more guns than most people can imagine. I've taught both of my children to shoot. I have been, some of the people in this room have heard it, I have been robbed at gunpoint and had them cock the gun in my face, right here in Winter Haven, Florida. And I can tell you that sometimes having a gun escalates the environment. I am not in favor of teachers having guns, because for a teacher to suddenly produce a gun, you're going to get mass hysteria with a bunch of students, and it's going to get worse. If a teacher is unsafe or feels unsafe, we need to have more police officers in the schools to protect them. We need to isolate those students that are the problem, that are causing that teacher to be unsafe or feel unsafe. But I'm not in favor of having teachers in schools have guns, and you're hearing this from a guy that is pretty good with a gun.
The challenge of isolating students whom teachers feel threatened by could be enormous in any given student population. Interestingly enough, a few months ago when we began going door to door and introducing myself to voters around District 40, this was one of the first issues that came up when I was talking to somebody out in their front yard on a Saturday. And the gentleman who spoke to me is a teacher. And he told me about his concerns not just for himself, for his own safety, but for the safety of the other students in his classroom, or the students in his classroom, excuse me. And he just asked me to take a look at it, to figure out what we can do to secure our campuses, our high school campuses, our elementary school campuses, and certainly our college campuses. Now, many of you are probably aware that there was a bill that started moving through the legislature last year. Our own Representative Cumbie was involved in that process to enable somebody on a campus to have a weapon in case they needed it. Obviously, this can become a very dangerous situation. It would require enormous training, but it's something we have to consider here in Florida. As somebody who is a staunch supporter of our Second Amendment rights, those Second Amendment rights extend to every single Floridian, every single American, regardless of where they are or what their age is. But it's really about the security on campus. It's really about the fact that we've got teachers telling us they're afraid. And it's something we need to address here in the state of Florida.
Don't be shy. Here we go. I went to public school last 2 years for the first time, and in my school, I found out that all students are no longer allowed to segregate students into different categories, such as those that are intelligent and can succeed quickly, and those that need more time to do things. They're no longer allowed to separate the different categories of students, and it's holding some of us behind and making it harder for us to learn. What would you say to this? What do you think should happen? Should students have to stay together regardless of how quickly they can go, or should they be separated so those that can go quickly and move on to bigger and better things?
Was that here in Polk County? Do you mind that?
Yes, it was.
It was here in Polk County. Again, Polk County schools are governed by a school board of elected officials. And I don't know what school you went to, and I don't have children in high school. It was a high school, correct? Okay. I don't have children in high school today. Mine are all grown up. But as a parent, I certainly wanted each of my 3 children to be in an educational institution where they were challenged, and they were asked and expected to work hard every single day. I believe that our school board here in Polk County, and just as an aside, you all know we have school board elections coming up on the 26th, but hold your school board members accountable, right? If we don't like what's happening, then students need to speak up. Because you're the ones who are in the classroom. You know, we're not there day in and day out, even as parents. And certainly as community members who no longer have school-age children. I'm not in the classroom, not aware of what's going on. I think we need to hold our school board members accountable. Tell them that we expect the best for each and every student here in Polk County, regardless of their level of potential and their level of achievement. So it's a concern, and I think you should have been challenged every single day, regardless of where you went to high school.
You know, I can see the day coming where that's not going to be a problem. Because I can see the day coming where every child, whether they're a first grader or maybe even a kindergartner, is going to be issued a laptop. And that child will start on that laptop and they will begin to learn. And all of them will be attached to a Wi-Fi system where they'll receive books and other things. And they'll have these self-learning tests where they'll go in on math or English or science or something else, and they can work that program as quickly as they can. And those that can work it quicker and faster and learn faster will do so and advance quicker. And those that are having a little more trouble will get the help that they need, because these programs that we have today are phenomenal. And you know, with all online virtual schools. We've shown that it works. All we've got to do is implement it on a student-by-student basis. And I can see the day that the problem that you're experiencing will go away because of self-learning text and the technologies that we're going to have. Now, how quickly is that going to occur? I don't know. But I would hope that we would move that way as quickly as we can. And I'm certain that school boards and teachers would very much like to, because I think it'll make their job a lot easier. I hope so.
We'll go to somebody else here. Yes? No?
Oh, me. Hi. Okay, I've been watching the TV. Right up here. I've been watching the TV, and every day I go to the mailbox, and I get direct mail from both of you. One of them is from Melbourne, Florida, and the other one's from, Venice, Florida? Neither one of us is in Polk County. And both of you have spent millions and millions of dollars direct mail. And not only that, I look on Fox News and actually TMZ and the direct, all of the ABC, NBC, and CBS. You're advertising millions and millions of dollars for a job that pays $30,000 to $40,000 a year. And so I'm just really wondering why all of them, and this is for both of you, why all of the money from outside interest is coming in to Polk County, both of you, to get one of you elected, and what the purpose is. And so I'd love to hear the answer from both of you. And how much money are you getting from each Melbourne and Venice?
Let me just tell you, the people from Melbourne have nothing to do with me. I have written them a letter. I have promulgated that letter. I have asked them to stop. I have done everything I can to have that not occur. When it first occurred, and I saw it, I wrote a personal note to Ms. Burton and told her that I was absolutely against this. And when I found it on a Monday, when I came in after that, I wrote a letter to those folks and sent it certified mail, pretty strong letter, that asked them once again to stop. Then it turned out that a gentleman that was actually only doing accounting for me and accounting for them, just like any other accountant, like David Tuxton or somebody does accounting. And when I found that connection, I fired him. Now, I can tell you, I don't have anything to do with them. I don't know what they're spending. I don't know where they're getting their money. And personally, in my letter, I said to them, stay out of Polk County because it's none of your business and it ought to be resolved solely by the people of Polk County. You're mistaken. The job only pays $29,000.
To 50.
I'm sorry?
It goes up to 50.
Does it?
Yeah.
I missed that part. But nonetheless,
it starts out at 29.
Yeah. But I can tell you that I don't know why that these people from Melbourne have decided to inject themselves into this campaign because and when you say you're getting it from me, you are not getting it from John Shannon, because anything you're getting from John Shannon clearly says on it, paid for and approved by John Shannon.
Well, the lucky person about whom this organization has decided to promulgate misinformation and, quite frankly, fabrication, I happen to bring some of them with me tonight, because I'm sure not everybody has seen them if you live in Winter Haven. So it started with this really nice piece. Now, this nice piece was sent out in violation of a Florida statute that says an ECO, which is what that organization is not supposed to send anything out outside of 30 days before the election day. So that's what came. A television commercial was also run, again, full of fabrications related to me. I did receive a copy of Mr. Shannon's letter, and he did send me a note. He's correct. And he did say in his letter that he would do whatever he could do to stop them, but to seek recovery by means and remedy available at law or equity. Understand the foregoing is not a threat, it is a promise. Well, after Mr. Shannon's letter went out, these are all the lovely pieces that have arrived at my home and at homes all across District 40, again, full of lies concerning me. And the saddest thing about this is this, ladies and gentlemen. Not only is it untrue, but this kind of behavior discourages good people from ever thinking about running for office. I have had somebody say to me about a friend of theirs from Polk County who was thinking about running for the state legislature someday. They weren't going to run. Look what's happened to Colleen. Organizations come in and they can tell lies and they can spend I don't know how much money. I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see where the money's come from and where the money is being spent, you can easily, with a few clicks of your mouse on your computer, trace where all the money has come from. They filter it through a couple of different organizations. Just spend a couple of minutes and you'll see all the money has come from. They filter it through a couple of different organizations. Just spend a couple of minutes and you'll see exactly where it's coming from. So I'll let you spend some time.
One question. You ask and answer. Judy.
This is directed at Mrs. Burton. In February, you and your husband attended a city commission meeting where you had requested the city reimburse you for property you had bought at 850 Hollingsworth. Because of a city easement, you were not able to build on this site. Why did you feel that city taxpayers should be on the hook for $110,000 when you failed to do your due diligence? And why would the commission award the money, $110,000, without you or your husband saying one word, which really surprised me?
It surprised us too. We anticipated that they would ask us to say something. The story goes like this. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. We did do our due diligence, including filing all the appropriate permitting papers with the city of Lakeland, right? Where they had an opportunity to say, you cannot build on this piece of property. Great. We would have accepted that because that's what has to happen. When the house was under construction is when the city of Lakeland noticed that the house would not be in a good location for their needs of access to that easement. And that's when we first learned that there was anything wrong. The city of Lakeland made a proposal to us to acquire the property from us because they believed that they needed it. They needed it for access to a really large easement that stretches from Lake Hollingsworth Drive all the way back to the Common Ground Park area. They needed access to that. We did do our due diligence. And the city made a mistake. But I think it was in their own eyes, that mistake allowed them to see this is a piece of property that we should acquire. They used the method usually employed by any municipality when they acquire property, which is they got assessments of the property to find out what the value was, all those kinds of things. And the amount that they paid was not on the high end; it was in the middle.
I would like to go back to this gentleman's question also. So, from what I can understand from both of you, neither one of you is responsible for all the garbage that we are getting in our mailboxes from Melbourne and Dennis. Is that correct?
I can assure you, ma'am, that the stuff you're getting from Melbourne is not coming from me. I do have information otherwise about Venice, but I'll let Ms. Burton answer that. But I can assure you, none of the stuff from Melbourne is coming from me with my approval or anything else. As a matter of fact, Ms. Burton read the letter. The only part of that she did not say, and she didn't know, I sat down and paid a lawyer to find out what my opportunities were to stop this. And unfortunately, at the end of that time period where he researched everything and I paid him, he said I had no grounds to do anything. I had no cause of action. But I paid a lawyer to see what I could do to stop this.
So likewise, I pay a lawyer to find out what remedy there is when something like that happens to somebody running for office. And all you can do is file a complaint, and it really has no effect on the outcome. You know, that's just a matter of principle. If we have a statute, it should be adhered to. What I have done is I have taken a look at, because I get the same mail, we get the same mail piece as everybody else is getting. We've seen the same things on television, and I've done on pieces that look like they're coming from supporters of mine, the same thing that I've done when I've seen things that appear to be from individuals supporting Mr. Shannon. I've gone on the computer and clicked the mouse a few times to see, you know, where is this coming from? You know, why it's happening? You'd really have to reach out to those individuals, those organizations that are responsible, and ask them.
Who's next?
Can I add one thing? I encourage each of you, when you get something in the mail, take the time to look and see if it's approved by somebody. Whether or not it's approved by John Shannon or approved by some other organization or approved by Ms. Burton. Take the time to look at it and see who approves it.
Yes, sir.
I want you to comment about the question on medical marijuana. And I personally consider that a real wolf in sheep's clothing. I have some very strong feelings about medical marijuana, which I believe is really not very medical. So would you comment, please?
Well, I agree with you. And I'm sorry, I just have to do sort of a selfish plug here. If you're interested in hearing Sheriff Grady Judd speak on this very topic, please join the Republican Women's Club on Thursday at lunch, because that is exactly what the sheriff will be addressing. He does a great presentation if you haven't heard it. That amendment is not well defined. And I don't know about everybody else here in the room tonight, but I am not interested in living in a California or a Colorado. I am not interested in that.
You know, I had a conversation with the sheriff about this, and let me tell you what's going to happen if this bill passes, is that there's going to be somebody that's going to be arrested, and they're going to have, if that bill passes, and they're going to, that amendment passes, and they're going to get arrested, and they're going to go to jail, and all of a sudden you and I are going to be paying pot for prisoners. And we're going to be buying it. Now, some of the ugly mail that you've seen paints me as an awful trial lawyer. And so as an awful trial lawyer, let me tell you one other effect of something like this. The number of automobile accidents in states where they have passed this kind of stuff has skyrocketed. And I'm sitting here telling you, as a awful trial lawyer, I do not want that. I want our streets safe. I don't want anybody hurt. I don't want the first person in the state of Florida to be injured in an automobile accident, or any other accident for that matter. So I'm telling you, this is not only a bad bill, this is something that each and every citizen of this state should go and vote against, because we have medicines right now, prescriptions that will take care of this stuff. We don't need something else.
Yep. Our illustrious leader says we have time for one last question, and I would like to go to somebody who's not a regular attendee, and I guess that would be you, sir. We'll fix it. I got to remember that. We'll fix that.
As an associate endorser for military chaplains for my denomination, I'm dealing with our chaplains around the pressures that are coming out of Washington, not only the White House, but the Department of Defense,
affirming rights of gay, lesbian, and bisexuals and transgenders. I know at this present time, Florida is facing the question concerning traditional marriage and the right of gay and lesbians to be identified as marriage. I'm also aware that right behind that is a battle over bisexuals to demand their right. I want to know your position. Do you affirm gay and lesbian rights of marriage? And if so, would you also affirm, as you're able to act in our legislature, bisexual rights of marriage? If so, why? And if not, why not?
George, thanks for asking that question. Let me just tell you right now that I go back to my Christian beliefs, and it's real simple. You know, every child grows up with a parent as an example, okay? And with that parent as an example, God intended every little boy to grow up and have a mother. Now, that mother is supposed to be his first love affair. Why? Because it's pure, it's altruistic, and she should want the very best for him. And his daddy should grow up as his best friend. By the same token, every little girl should grow up having her first love affair with her daddy. Why? Because it should be a pure relationship, one of nothing but love and respect, and have that child grow up nurtured, and she should grow up with her mother as her best friend. When those relationships break down, children are confused. They don't know. And the relationships that they form with other genders are confused. So anytime we engage in this, and unfortunately the federal government and the federal courts have already pretty much ruled on this, we're going to be stuck with some of these federal rulings. It's not going to be a state issue, I'm sorry, because the federal courts have already dealt with it. It's going to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we're going to be stuck with it. But I can tell you personally, knowing full well of what it takes to raise children, as any parent in this room does, you know, those relationships between the children and the opposite sex of their parents and the same sex of their parents is so critical to their growth and maturity.
I need to answer this one first, if that's okay. I believe that marriage is the union of one man and one woman. I am blessed to have been married to one man for 34 years, and he's here with me tonight. I have always believed that marriage is the union between one man and one woman. I always will. I won't change my mind because the sands of time, you change other people's opinions. I will always believe that. In my core, I know that's what's right. I know that's what God intended. And the marriage between my husband and myself is a sacrament. Thank you.
Can we please have a round of applause for the two candidates? And I'm hoping that they will stick around for a little bit, enjoy a cup of coffee and a treat. Don't get up yet, don't get up yet, don't get up yet. We've still got a couple more things to do. They're going to stick around so you can ask them their questions specifically. The people who were the first three to raise your hand for questions, do you remember who you are? The first three people that asked questions. Okay, there's one, there's two, and this is the other one over here, wasn't it? Yeah, three. Please stay because you get a free copy of Ms. Anthony's book. Whoa. This is the first time we've had over 100 people attending our 912 project meeting, and I want to be sure and thank you all for attending. It's been a very great pleasure to have these two fine people, fine Americans, fine patriots, up on the podium. Another round of applause, too. They're contributing a lot to their life. So,
Okay, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. As I said when I got first to Mike, we've been doing this for over 4 years now. We've done some phenomenal things here in the past. We've held statewide conferences against Common Core. We've held statewide conferences against Agenda 21. We just put on a Liberty School for children to teach them the values and principles that the Founding Fathers used to create this great country. This is our second one. We're going to be doing another one. We hope you would help us with that and maybe send some children our way that would enjoy such a thing. We've had this debate. We've had other debates in the past. We held a strawberry caucus, what was it, 2 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. We meet every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Oh yes, Constitution Roundup is going to be coming too. The Winter Haven 912 group, as well as us, as well as COP, Citizens of Polk, as well as the Oath Keepers, are going to be having an event out at Saddle Creek Park on October 18th, is it, sir? And it's just a big free-for-all, going to have speakers and things going on and happening. There's a notebook that Jeff is carrying. He's going to put on the table over there, and that has room for your name, address, and email information. If you would be so kind, we would love to have you sign up. And you don't have to come to any meetings that you don't want to, but we'd like to be able to inform you about what's going to be happening and what we're going to be doing so that if you choose to, you can participate. Yes? No? I ain't done yet. One last thing, my own puffery. Tomorrow morning, 6 to 9 on WLKF 1430 AM, you can listen to me and laugh.
Thank you for all that puffery. The other thing that we have is we're also doing a raffle. We are raffling off a $400 gift certificate to a gun shop in Winter Haven. So if you would like to pay, I think it's $5 a piece or 5 for 20 to get the raffle tickets. Where's Glenn? He has the raffle ticket. There he is right here. The man raising his arm has the raffle ticket, and we'll be doing that drawing on October 18th at the Constitutional Roundup. Hopefully as you participate in the other groups, they also will get word in. The other groups will have tables to promote their membership. We all want the same thing. Basically, the people that are involved will believe in 2 documents. You probably won't have a lot of trouble guessing what they are. The Constitution and the Bible. So those are the people that are going to be out there. We hope to have one of these 2 speakers, may the best man or woman win, will come and speak to us at that, along with Condi has been invited, and a long list of other dignitaries and politicians, because it is conveniently 2 weeks before the election. Thank you very much for coming here. Please stay, socialize, speak with the candidates. I'm not sure how when you get another chance. Take advantage of this opportunity. Thank you very much for coming, Ms. Burton and Mr. Shannon, and have a nice evening, everybody.
I want to thank you for taking my question, and I want to personally appear in my face to apologize. Somehow I offended you.
No,
oh, you didn't? Oh, okay. In any case, here's some research. If I have offended you, I'll try to make good for it. And if I have, I'm Gordon, the guy that you told not to call you, but I want to personally appear in the person to apologize. I don't know what I did to offend you, but if I did, I will try to make good for it. If you're a Christian, then we can work this out. So I give you the right hand of blessing. I'm a human, okay, but it's the best that I can do. And so
I accept your apology, if that's very much, and I appreciate it.
And listen, thank you for accepting my apology. Bless you, brother.
That's it.
Hi, my name is Linda Mills.
Hi, Linda.
I didn't tuck my hand up like they done.
Oh yeah, but check this out. It's still running.
Right.
Oh, no, don't. Oh yeah, yes, you're right. Hold on, let me see something. Okay, hold on. What I'm going to do is make a few adjustments.
Yeah, so you don't drop the camera. That would be...
I thought that it was on there. Hold on, let me see something. I'll just let it hang this way and keep it on. Look at that. If it doesn't break, it has about 40 minutes on it.
Whoa.
Yeah, look at that. It's still running.
But it's going to fall, and I'm afraid you're going to break it.
I'm kind of old. I actually feel older than you, even though you're not old. I feel old.
I'm 75.
You're not old, but even though I'm younger than you, but I still have quick reflexes. And so I'm getting old, but I have quick reflexes. So thank you for paying that attention. I've asked her enough questions by email. I'm just going to shake your hand and connect the station and name. You got some free stuff.
There it is.
Oh, the free something.
That's the free book that young Miss Anthony wrote.
Oh, thank you. Now, in order, I don't have one of the smartphones.
She'll help you with that. Yeah.
I don't have a smartphone.
Do you have a,
I don't have anything that will read that.
oh, okay.
Can I give you my email address? And then you can email it? Okay. Okay, hold on for a second. Can I just do this right here? You can email me a PDF or something, right?
Yes.
Okay. And GW1210@gmail as well.
Okay.
So, Gordon Wayne Watts, not 1111, but 1210.
Okay.
So, and anyhow, if you email that, then what I can do is it'll a PDF or something. I wrote you're pro-life, right? Oh, thank God. Then you won't be offended when you hear that I nearly won in court for Terry Chavez.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not a lawyer, so that's really, really weird.
Right.
Right, it's very weird. That's a miracle, but there's a miracle greater than me nearly winning. I lost 4-3, by the way. What's the greater miracle? What is it? Come on, what is it? It's my faith. No one's in the right mind would even try what I did. It's censored. Black. So, in any case, I'm Gordon Wayne Watts, and I'm GordonWayneWatts.com and GordonWatts.com, and you can look me up and click on the contact link, and if you lose that, and so I'm controversial, I'm not perfect. I've run into people, but I'm trying to do my part. So what's your name? Atty Anthony. I'm trying to remember. I'm going to see if I have any friends with that last name. I know an Anthony Stevens, but that's the first name. Right. But in any case, thank you so much for working with me with respect to my dumb phone. Still the same number?
Yeah, it's like a...
And they also live in Wilson, Stanton,
Oh, don't worry. All I'm going to do is shake your hand and connect the face and the name. Because, you know what I'm saying, I'm bad enough as it is the fact that I'm human. Even a conservative Christian can be human. So what happened is you were trying to do your best to overcome it. I promise I'll be quick. On the TV on flash forward. I'll give you a hint. I thought you raised your hand for a second question. That was slick. You almost got your second question. What was it, though?
It was again having to deal with the education system.
The liberals made loans easily available, and the cost for college for student aid. And the college has jacked up the prices and increased the tuition to match the borrowing ability. This is a so-called conservative remove the bankruptcy protection, which is the economic Second Amendment, and the student was a victim of predatory lending. So you have bad Republicans and bad Democrats. And the tuition didn't go up by chance. And although the state technically has control over it, it's really controlled strongly by the Fed. And you were so screwed, man. God bless you. Hey, does that make sense? Did you ever think about this? This guy's a security guard and he's smart. I got fired. Dude, what for? What? The drug dealer got me fired. Were you guilty? No. He took the pot. And I just want to say that our phone is Hey, don't worry, I'll be quick, because I'm just going to connect the name and the face. I'll be quick, because I'm just going to connect the name and the face. I'll talk to Ms. Burton by email. I know. Thank you. Colleen, I'm careful. I'm going to be real quick, because I want to just connect the name and the face. You recognize me as Gordon, right? Right. And so I just wanted to recognize your voice. Right. In any case, so let me see. This is the short version, and I want to give you some good news. I'm sure that you prayed about the secret conflict, and I went, and I don't know what I did, but I apologize. And your friend here accepted my apology. And so what happened is I changed my question around a little bit because I felt that it would be the best thing. There's other people who really don't know you. I'll shake your hand online sometime later. May God bless you. Wow, there's a lot of... Hey, you look like my friend Katie Hughes that used to work with Dennis Ross.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you're not her, are you?
No, I am not.
I'm horrible with names. I was going to ask her a question about something where when she was an aide, some stuff happened, but you're not her, and so please accept my apology.
Oh, no.
But it's all good.
How funny.
Well, we're all conservative. Even conservatives can make mistakes. If and when I can get your email address. Oh, your email address. That's right. When you send me that book, I'll send you 3 in return for 1, and it'll be free, and you'll enjoy it. One is the brief in my lawsuit that almost won on behalf of Shiloh. It freaked out a lot of people. Or actually, a more advanced version of the one that almost won. And the one that was more advanced went before the U.S. Supreme Court, and they just stomped me. Didn't even hear it. But I was more revised. That the conservatives were all jumping up and down because I really kicked butt and tried to win. Not on the feeding tube issue, although that was valid, but on the food issue. They denied the least of these. My brothers and sisters, food and water. Matthew, 25, 31 through 46. The other one is going to be a conservative, a liberal. It's not liberal, it's conservative. The way that the federal government tinkered with the higher ed and caused the tuition to go up, the liberals are all jumping up and down happy. Not enough to actually promote my case, but if I won, they'd be happy. But it's really a conservative case. And the third one hypothesizes and shows biblical evidence that when a child dies before the age of accountability, the kid will probably reunite with a parent in the millennium and not have a free will strip and have anything automatically go to heaven, but have the gospel explained and have a fair chance like the angels, where they had the 1/3 of themselves, and so on. It's a very deep subject on this book. It's on Amazon, so I'll give you a free copy of that. And as a show of my gratitude. In any case, I'm going to float around and get some free food.
Okay.
Thank you so much for giving me free food. You too.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do it.
Hey, can you tell me the subject matter of your book? Is it fiction or is it what's it called? What's the opposite of fiction? Okay. What?
You say non-fiction?
Yeah. Is your book fiction or non-fiction?
No, it's fiction.
Oh, okay.
It's just basically like, it talks about...
More free stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, if you ever forget my name, here's how you can remember Gordon Watts, G-O-R-D-O-N, 2 O's, like 2 I's, like Flash. Wayne, like John Wayne, he's a conservative who supports the Second Amendment. And Watts, like U.S. Representative J.C. Watts. Remember him? He was the quarterback of the Oklahoma City.
Yes.
And he's retired, but he's one of very few African Americans that is a conservative Republican. But he shows that things can work well. The Republican Party, by the way, I'm a Republican, we're horrible. So is the Democratic Party. We're horrible in different ways. But in any case, now the last name is U.S. Representative J.C. Watts, and also 60 watts and 100 watts. And my father runs the Bobby Watts Steak Shop, which is near the skating rink and the Temple Pit Barbecue in Lake Park. So if you ever forget me, you can look me up under Gordon Wayne Watts in Lakeland, and then you can contact or whatever, and then you can email me something if like you forgot my email address. There's free stuff. My website, my web ring is huge, but the stuff is free. It's good. Controversial, but nothing harmful like a computer virus or something. I don't even know how to do that. But if a person should get a computer virus just by looking at the website, they need to, because the computer shouldn't allow that. They should have things set. But in any case, so I'm not sure what the book is, but I'll be looking around for, if you have a hard copy. No, your hard copy is you have to keep the shelf for night. I'll take the electronic copy.
I know another author.
I'm going to roll around and get more free stuff and meet other people and take the pen.
Okay, so...
Look up what it is. I got it. I'm a horrible names and faces man, but I'm Gordon Watts, the son of Bobby Watts, who runs the tea shop. And so maybe the next time I'll know your names and faces if you guys call me.
Oh, my name's Juncture.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm out of high
oh, okay. I can remember those two names fairly. I'll struggle or whatever. Yeah, my father, he's big time popular with the local car park people, and we're conservative Christian Republicans.
Okay.
And so we're humans, you know what I'm saying, and all that sort of stuff. But, you know what I'm saying, it's got to hang in there and try to do your best in the political process. Some people say politics and religion don't mix. Tell like the Paul and the Apostle and Jesus. Yeah. Oh, buddy. Right over. My heroes and Moses. And Charlton Heston, who played Moses.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, oh well. There's limits on what the politics can do, I guess.
Very true.
Just do our best at the very end. Put it out, I guess. There was one other meeting going around. My real good friend Brett Upney-Grove is a really high Democrat. He actually is good, believe it or not. I mean, as a friend, you know, help you out when you need it. And he wanted me to go to some school board function or debate way over on the other side of town. I'm like, no, man, this is important.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that's important, but yeah. Well, I wish I'd attended more of it, but man, oh man. Oh, wait a second. I remember where I saw you. You're on Colleen Burton's Facebook page. Now I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I'm horrible with Facebook, but it's now coming back to me. But anyhow, she's a nice woman, a patient person. And I guess you have probably now connected my name to face, and you remember the fallout whether of whom. I'm still quite upset. But he was good enough to accept my apology, even though I don't remember doing anything wrong. I'm certain that I did. And regardless of whether I did or not, I'm glad that he's open to, you know, trying to resolve and overlook our feelings, because at the end of the day, it's one of those things that you just don't want to happen. I'm not like one of those nurses that kills the baby just to revive it. It's better if you can avoid stuff like that. But if it happens, you deal with it. And so I'm just praying that those misunderstandings that I had with Shannon resolve out. And so I believe in miracles. You're pro-life like me, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank God. Anyhow, you should be very glad that I nearly won in court for Terry Shiloh. Yes, I'm bragging, because that's about the only thing I did to prove my life. You know what I'm saying? But in any case, though, and really I won't brag much, because even though I really did try hard, and it was my case alone, there was one other person that stood with me. Come on, you know who it is. Come on.
I was very young when that. Well, I was actually in middle school when that
That's okay. The person that stood with me was Jesus. Now, don't get me wrong, I had friends that, you know, I mean, all they were like friends and all that, but I studied the case. And the fact of the matter is, in that case, I went to court on the food issue, not the feeding condition. And very, very odd about that case was I'm not a lawyer. Normally, I'm not supposed to be able to do that. But I told the court, she doesn't have a lawyer. Can I be your next friend? Because she has to have a lawyer. You're violating due process. I was more naive than far as Hunt Hunter, for real. And so I told the court there's a legal loophole, for real. Can I do it? And so the court decision came down, and I almost won. Or more likely, I almost got the case heard on the merits, which was better than just this case. We all really lost. So the bottom line is that case can teach us, one, that weird things happen, two, that miracles can happen, and three, I'm human but I'm pro-life, and four,
we gotta go?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, anyway, be safe, buddy.
Sorry,
Thanks for talking, Hunter. You have a good one. You're the guy that tried to give me that thing that I couldn't scan.
That's fine.
But I got my email address onto your friend's notes, and she said she'll email me a PDF. And in return, I'm going to email her 3 PDFs. I don't know if I told you, and don't get me wrong, I was good on bragging, but many of y'all are pro-life like me, right? But okay. Even if you're not pro-life, but I think you are, but even if you're not, you should be happy that I went to court on behalf of Terry Shiloh on the food issue, the medical care, not the feeding food issue, although I sympathize with her, and I lost 4-3 because I wanted her to have, even if she was in very bad shape, she should have had food and water. Even many liberals were upset that she didn't have food and water because they thought that it was all machines and stuff. So the point that I'm making is I'm human, and people disagree on many things, but I went to bat and I nearly won in court, doing better than Terry Shiloh's beloved family, and I went before the same court as Jeb Bush. And so you can Google Gordon Wayne Watts, and you can see my ugly mug there on my website, and Google will verify that all that is basically true. I've done other things, but since y'all guys, but the thing with this is that the state law says that you can't deny a person food and water, even if it's their wishes. For example, criminals. The feeding tube issue, I don't agree with how they did it, but the state law gives provision for the feeding tube to be counted as a life support measure. And so I'll admit I don't know which way was right. I kind of was uncertain because I'm human. It was a very hard issue. The food issue was clear. So since many of y'all, even if we disagree, are rule of law people, and you should keep us so that some of these meetings. Sure, man. So the point is I just wanted you to know the little guy can sometimes get hurt in court. It will encourage you, my brother. Good. Thanks for talking with me, man. Everyone participated, and I'll bet that thing that feed up in batteries. I'll check out rechargeable, for real.
Yeah, you're probably right. The engineer ordered it for us, and it does go through the batteries. You're absolutely right.
I have one like that. This camcorder has a very odd battery that I would be hard pressed to replace. Yeah. I'd have to hook the wires up to it. I don't know how to do it, but it's hard. The other camcorder has some battery, the regular AA cities, and so what you do is you just get rechargeable.
Okay.
And what the rechargeables do is they last for one good round, and then you just switch them out, and you just keep get one cut and then put the other out, and then that way there that you won't be using them up. You just keep recharging the battery, and it's cheaper. Nickel cadmiums are good, although you have to run them straight dead. Nickel metal hydride, get one of the more expensive types there. And if you're good with a solder iron and wire, you can hook up to bigger batteries at the same time.
How do I recharge?
No, what you do, you get the rechargeable and put it in a little charger.
Oh, a little charger.
I'm going to show you. You're smart. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, buddy.
There you go.
Well, buckle up and be safe. Buckle up and be safe on your travel time.
Thank you.
Hey, Wesley, I wanted to tell you, hey, man, thanks once again. I wanted to tell you that I apologize privately to Mr. Shannon, even though I don't know that I did anything wrong. I must have, or even if I didn't, I did that because I felt it was right. And so he accepted my apology, and I told him on my end that I was hoping that there would be no hard feelings the other direction as well. So what happens is, I wanted to tell you that because you're probably a Christian like me was concerned that there was bad blood over something that was just one of them freak incidents. So I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'm going to give it the college try, and so I still believe in miracles. Remember, I'm the guy that really wanted to secretary side. That was a miracle. The fact that I even had faith was even a greater miracle. So in any case, I just wanted to give you an uplifting word because that was even though I believe I was wrong, it was a distraction that I would have preferred if I could do it all over again, somehow finding a way to avoid it. Because it was exciting and all that. There were some positive things that came out, but overall, I could have avoided it. But in any case, what's done is done. So in any case, I just figured I'd give you that positive word, and I guess I'm going to pedal right along. Well, listen, maybe I'll probably just cut out early because I've had too much talking and I don't want to overstay my welcome. But I really do appreciate y'all guys getting out and staying the full distance. Y'all guys made this worthwhile. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. If you ever need anything, you just let me know.
Alrighty. And same thing. If you ever need anything, just holler, buddy.
Oh, Morgan? You know Morgan? I won't know that again.
Oh, you must be Lana.
Oh, listen, don't you worry about it. I didn't know you had.
I want to shake your hand and connect your name and the face. I'm the Gordon you talked to.
Oh, hi, Gordon.
Thank you so much for making me feel welcome. I have good news. You were mistaken about that hour thing, and they decided to stay the distance. And I even put in the good word.
How about that?
Well, listen, thank you. Oh, by the way, that private dispute, I had a change of heart and decided to only allude in general to the situation. And even though I don't think I did anything wrong, you can read the write-up. I apologize. And for what it's worth, Mr. Shannon was good enough to accept my apology. Whether I'm right or wrong, I think that's a good thing because it was one of the things which just caught me off guard.
Sure.
And so thank you so much for hosting this, your blessing.
Yes.
Well, listen, I'm Gordon Watts, the son of Bobby Watts, and so I'm going to be horrible with names and faces. You're like Lane Lang on Superman. Yeah. There you go. That's how I remember it. Well, listen, buckle up and be safe. Bye-bye. Oh, there I parked, way over yonder. It's still there.